Hello, and welcome to the third video in a series of 3 talks to mark World Bee Day 2022. This series comes from the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan, and implementation of the plan is coordinated by the National Biodiversity Data Centre. The All-Ireland Pollinator Plan is a framework bringing together farmers, councils, businesses, schools, communities and individuals right across the island of Ireland to create a landscape where pollinators can survive and thrive. In the first video, you'll have heard about Ireland's 100 wild bee species and why they're under threat. In the second video, you learned about the simple actions that you can take to make our landscape more pollinator friendly again. And in this video, I'm going to focus on ways that you can help by getting involved with the National Biodiversity Data Centre to record pollinators. My name's Úna FitzPatrick. I'm Senior Ecologist in the National Biodiversity Data Centre and also the Chair and Project Manager of the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan. Within the National Biodiversity Data Centre, we manage information on Ireland's wildlife. So we collate information from lots of different sources and we use that biodiversity data to help drive conservation. It might be to assist with national conservation assessments or red lists. These tell us which species are under threat and most likely to go extinct. Or it might be to underpin action-based initiatives such as the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan. Bees and hoverflies are our most important wild pollinators, and today I'm just going to talk about recording those and the ways that you can help and get involved. The first thing that you can do is to learn more about our wild bees and hoverflies. So you could watch this simple animation that we created within the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan in 2019. It just explains a little bit more about those bumblebees and solitary bees and their life cycle. You could see our resources on identifying Ireland's 21 different bumblebee species. Within the National Biodiversity Data Centre, we published this little identification swatch that you can buy through our online shop. And you can also download this free bumblebee poster showing images of the 21 different species. You can take our free interactive bumblebee identification course. So you can do this one at your leisure, in your own time, and it includes activities and quizzes to test your progress, and you get feedback on answers. You can also learn to recognise some of your more distinctive solitary bee species. And in the first talk in the series, I talked about the 79 different solitary bee species that we have. Not all of them are distinct, but what I have done on this website is pull out 15 that are more recognisable. So you can have a read through the 15 solitary bees for beginners, and you'll be amazed at how many of these you start spotting in your gardens or schools or parks once you start looking. If you really want to go for it, you can see the species accounts of all the Irish bee and hoverfly species. So these are at that link species.biodiversityireland.ie, and on there we've got species accounts for each of the 101 different bee species in Ireland and each of the 180 odd different hoverfly species that we have. And for each you can see photographs and distribution maps within Ireland and also globally, and you can see a wee bit about the species biology and various other facts about each one. Something else you can do is to use biodiversity maps to find out about what pollinators are known from your area. So Biodiversity Maps is the portal that we use within the National Biodiversity Data Centre. So it compiles biodiversity data from multiple sources and then it's made freely available through Biodiversity Maps online. So you can see there's almost 5 million records in Biodiversity Maps at the minute from over 17,000 different species. And within the online system, you can see maps of any of the species that you're interested in. You can download data sets for use, and you can also see what occurs in your local area. And if you want to do that, you can watch this little animation that was created by the centre on how to use Biodiversity Maps to discover what occurs near you. So it'll lead you through how to do that, and you can see what occurs, around where you live, maybe where your school is, your farm, the park, whatever. I know that's just what I get when I download it from where I live. And you can see the bees that have already been recorded here. And what you might find, what many of you will find, is that there's a lot that we don't know. So you might find something, you might find a bee that you're able to identify that isn't listed, and you can really help by then sending that data to us. So it's really important when you see something that you're able to identify that you can submit a new record and add to that national resource. There's two ways that you can do this. It's the website, records.biodiversityireland.ie. And when you go in here, you just click on whichever taxonomic group it is that you want to record. So if it's bumblebees, the form will come up and you just put in the details of what you've seen. You can use the map to show where it occurred and the date that it occurred and so on. That data will then come to us. You can do the same thing using our smartphone app, Biodiversity Data Capture. And again, you can get the link from the website to the app for Android or iPhone. Just to say that if you use this link, view my records, because when you submit data to the website or to the app, it's linked to an email address. So when you view your records, you can see all the records that you've submitted to us, either through the website or the app. They're all collated together for you. And that data all comes to us and it's validated before being loaded into Biodiversity Maps and made available. The fourth thing that you can do then is to take part in one of our citizen science pollinator monitoring schemes. These are sort of like the gold standard. And they use a standardized methodology which allows us to assess trends over time. And we've got two citizen science pollinator monitoring schemes. One called FIT counts, so flower insect timed counts. These are easy to do. And then there's a more advanced scheme called the All-Ireland Bumblebee Monitoring Scheme. Both cases, they help us track changes in wild pollinators in the landscape. And both can also be used at local levels to assess the impact of actions that you may have taken in support of the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan. So you can use these to check whether or not what you're doing is actually having a positive impact on the pollinators themselves. Just tell you about the FIT counts first, so the flower insect timed count scheme, and you can see the website link for more details. It's a really nice little scheme. So all you have to do is watch a small patch, so a 50 centimetre square patch of flowers for 10 minutes, and you count how many insects visit. You don't have to identify them to species, you just have to say which broad insect group it was that landed on your flowers. You can do as many or as few FIT counts as you like from any location between the 1st of April and the 30th of September. And the most useful thing to do is to do repeat FIT counts, across a season and then across years from a same location or from somewhere nearby. The best way to submit FIT count data to us is to use this new smartphone app that we've just launched this month. So within the app, you start it and it counts down your 10 minutes, and really, you're watching your patch of flowers and you're tapping on the screen which of the different insects has visited. It also includes a guide to distinguishing between the different insect groups. So if you're not 100% sure of the difference between solitary bees and hoverflies, you can go in and have a look at the guide before you start. But it is a really lovely way just to take 10 minutes to yourself and to connect with nature, and to know at the same time that you're providing really valuable pollinator data to the National Biodiversity Data Centre. The second scheme then is the All-Ireland Bumblebee Monitoring Scheme. And so as I said, this is a wee bit more involved. So what happens with this scheme is that volunteers walk a fixed 1 to 2 kilometre route once a month from March to October. And we always recommend that people pick a route that's really convenient to them. So maybe you have a walk that you route, or a walk that you do, daily or regularly. Something like that is perfect for the Bumblebee Monitoring Scheme. On your route, you have to record the different bumblebees that you see. And within the scheme, you do need to learn how to identify the different species and also how to distinguish the queens, the workers, and the males. And the Bumblebee Monitor Scheme is so important, and the volunteers are amazing. They give up their time to walk these routes once a month and submit the data to us. And what it does is it tells us how bumblebees are doing within the landscape and which species are in trouble. And it's humbling in a way to see the data from this, because it tells you things that you really wouldn't know. otherwise. So for example, the scheme is telling us at the minute that one of our common bumblebees is in decline, you know, and without the volunteers and their generosity in getting involved, we wouldn't be aware of that, and we wouldn't get that heads up, and we wouldn't be able to then take action within the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan to try and address it. So if you're interested in getting involved in the monitoring scheme and are always looking for new volunteers, the first step is to read through the information on the website and decide if it's definitely for you. You can then take the online bumblebee identification course that I mentioned earlier. On that course, as well as helping you learn how to identify the common bumblebee species, it also explains about the monitoring scheme and explains how to set up your route and how to enter your monthly data. And if you'd like to give the scheme a try, you know, just email me directly so that I can add you to the volunteer network, and that'll ensure that you receive the monthly newsletter that I send out to the volunteers with hints and tips each month. Just one final thing to mention, this is a project that has just started within the National Biodiversity Data Centre this year in 2022, and it was set up to build upon the amazing set of science data streams that we are receiving within the centre from our volunteers. So to supplement that and to build upon those, we launched an Irish pollinator monitoring scheme this year. And there is an EU level push for all EU member states to have a monitoring scheme right across Europe so that we can track changes in pollinators. So Ireland's ahead of the curve in kicking this off already. And we did launch a pilot project funded by the National Parks and Wildlife Service and the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine this year. And within that scheme, contracted surveyors will systematically survey wild pollinators across a fixed network of sites that's going to cover semi-natural farmland and urban parks. So the data from the Irish Pollinator Monitoring Scheme, together with all the casual data and all the citizen science data, provides us with a fantastic source of information that allows us to assess what's happening with our pollinators in the landscape and underpins the work of the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan in trying to protect them into the future. So in answer to the question, oh, how can you help? There's lots and lots of different ways that you can get involved, and I hope today, you know, after today, some of you might be interested in reading more and perhaps getting involved in some of our schemes or submitting casual data to us. And to end, I just want to say again a huge thank you to all those people who do submit data on pollinators and help us track changes, and hopefully some more of you might get involved in the future.